Welcome to the Vivacious Living podcast for humans that want to fill every single day of the rest of their lives with as much energy, joy, and wonder as humanly possible. I'm your host, Selina, and let's get into the show.
Hello and welcome to our first episode of Vivacious Living.
I'm your host, Selina. I'm a personal trainer, dance teacher, and very recently the creator of the Vivacious Escapes event. First one happening in March 2022. Fingers crossed that COVID allows. And the very handsome voice across the mic you heard was Jai Harris,
That's
my
me.
tech guy, partner in crime, fiance.
Tech guy's my jam.
Usually does cameras, but we're working on microphones and voices now too.
Dabbling in voice. Here we go.
So Vivacious Living will be a podcast where we usually will do interviews with people in the community that have something to do with health or well-being. So it might be a doctor or a physio or a dance studio owner, psychiatrist, psychologist, movement coach.
Or anyone interested in the field.
Yeah.
With a passion in something.
Yeah.
Nutrition,
You may
whatever.
not even be, qualified in any sort of health field. Maybe you're just a mum trying to feed your kids in a healthy way or keep your family active. Anyone that has any sort of interest, we're going to delve into what sparked that interest and what's something that they really wish that the rest of the community knew when it came to health. That's Arilla. She's also very interested in health. So we thought that we would start, because we're in lockdown and we can't actually interview anybody at the moment, and B, to give you a bit of a background into who I am and why we're doing this, we'd start with my story.
And Arilla's story, apparently.
Arilla very interested in telling her story. So I think the best place to start is from
At
childhood. Yeah, from the beginning. So when I was in primary school, I'm going to say probably around the age of 10, I was chubby. And the kids teased me for it. The boys used to sing the Jenny Craig phone number to me on the oval.
Bullies.
Kids are horrible. I really wasn't that overweight. My parents still say to this day that I wasn't overweight. But you can tell from photos that I was definitely chubby. But I was active. I swam, I danced, I did calisthenics, I did karate and tennis and any sport that was available to me at school, cross country, athletics, I did all of it. But obviously my diet was not very good, which when you're 10 is completely out of your control. And something that's always frustrated me is that my parents were doing the best that they knew how. My parents aren't overweight. But, packets, it's a roll up and it says real fruit flat out. You shouldn't have to read all of the tiny writing on the back to know that it's actually full of sugar. All these companies.
Fine print sugars.
Yeah. All these companies lying to parents and to children to market.
Misleading.
Yeah, to market their products. Put them on when Cheese TV's on in the morning and I see the Fruit Loops and it's like, oh, no artificial colours or flavours. That must be good for me. And, Anyway, so all of these little choices along the way led to me being overweight. And when I went into high school, I did have a growth spurt and pretty much lost all of that chubbiness and just became a normal size, but it was something that stuck with me forever. I started telling Mum to give me seedy bread instead of white bread, rice crackers instead of chips, fruit instead of roll-ups, skinny milk instead of full cream milk, and always having to watch what I ate, and like hanging out with friends at lunchtime and seeing them eat chocolate or chips or whatever and wishing that I could do the same, or actually eating the chocolate and then starving myself and not eating the rest of my food because I wanted to fit in. High school's a horrible time. I went through stages of either starving myself or throwing up my food, and just my weight and being bigger than everyone else was always a constant worry. Even though I was still so active, again, every sport possible I did, and hours of dancing, but food was always a real struggle for me. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when I finished high school.
So it was just the food aspect.
Yeah.
How did that lead to personal training?
Well, I don't know if you had them in Queensland, but in Victoria, Michelle Bridges did ads for the Australian Institute of Fitness, AIF, on the radio, and I heard her ads. And I was doing a dance teaching course at the time, but it was really a course on how to teach ballet, which is not really my vibe. And I heard these ads, and then I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to help other people overcome issues like I have, So, I went off, did my 6-month course, became a personal trainer. And really, as much as I say the beginning of the journey for me was when I was overweight as a child, it's like I feel like I have many, many first starting points. Yeah, because it opened me up to a whole new world, because there were a lot of people doing the course that were really into strength training or bodybuilding. It's been... I do kind of feel like the craze has come and gone a little bit, but bodybuilding was very popular for quite some time, and there was a lot of trainers out there that would lean themselves down to compete in bodybuilding competitions and then use photos from those competitions as ways to gain new clients, because people would look at them and go, wow, they're so thin, they must be so healthy, I want them to be my trainer. So it made me feel like if I was going to be a successful personal trainer, I also had to eat and train like a bodybuilder. And for a while, I really enjoyed it. I liked lifting heavy weights, but I stopped eating carbs altogether, ever. I was eating meat or eggs or some form of protein at every single meal, and then just veggies on top of that. Not very much fruit, but a lot of processed things, like a lot of protein shakes, a lot of protein bars.
It's pretty full on.
Yeah. And I didn't feel very well inside. My stomach was no good. And even though I felt strong and thin, I think I felt good, but it was only because I thought that I looked good. It was the best that I'd looked in my whole life. And suddenly I was like, oh, I actually look great. These insecurities that I've had my whole life are kind of melting away because I'm strength training and I'm looking fantastic. But I still wasn't healthy. And I didn't go to the extreme levels of cutting down my body fat percentage to 4% or anything like that, like fitness models do. I just was lifting and eating and lifting and eating. But I could already tell that it's not healthy. So then I look at all of these personal trainers or bikini athletes out there that are shredding down and then getting all these clients that want to look like them. And I'm like, people should be wanting to be healthy, not wanting to be thin. Just because you're thin doesn't mean that you're healthy. It might mean, women, once they get below usually about 14% body fat, stop menstruating. Your body thinks that you're so unhealthy that you can't support having a child. So the normal body fat percentage for a woman is between 18 and 25. And for a man, it's between 8 and 16. It's so different. So it's all these, all these bodybuilders, they get down to very, very low.
Nothing.
Yeah. And people look up to them and think that they're inspirational when really they're walking around starved. Their sleep's probably really poor. Their digestion is horrible. Their skin's bad. You know, they're not people to be looked up to just because they're thin, but that just speaks to our society's obsession with how we look rather than how we feel.
So after you started personal training course and all of that, you pretty much again started your general health journey as opposed to just bulk bodybuilding and...
No, so that was when I did my personal training course. I started that, not before.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So it's like after you started that, it's like you realize it's not just personal training or like bodybuilding that makes you healthy. You started figuring everything else out and putting everything else in line to...
No. I think it took a really long time for me to figure that out. Like a really long time. I think it's really only been over the past 3 years that I've really been like looked into how I feel.
All the other aspects of health, not just lifting and no carbs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can only eat no carbs for so long before you start to feel like shit. As much as like I trained one way, I didn't necessarily coach my clients that same way. I felt like eating no carbs worked for me because after so long of feeling like I was overweight, cutting out carbs helped me lose weight. So I felt like that was the right thing for me to do. Even though when I trained my clients, I would never say to cut out a whole food group. So it's like I knew it wasn't the right thing to be doing, even though it was what I was doing. And even in terms of movement, I've gone through so many different stages as well. Because when I first started training people, it was in very small groups in a studio. And then it went into larger groups. I did a lot of group fitness, like aerobics and step and things like that, which were really fun. But in my head, I was just like, oh, this is such a waste of time because they're not getting any gains. Like, even though it was fun and everyone was enjoying themselves, in the back of my head and moving, I was just like, this isn't, helping anybody. But that is so wrong. And now I've come a full 360 on that, because any way that you can move that's fun, that you enjoy, is the best way for you to move. I suppose I was lucky that I really liked strength training, but not everybody does. Strength training definitely has a lot of benefits, and it should be a part of everybody's workout regime, if you like it or if you don't like it, because strength training helps increase your bone density. So as you get older, if you fall over, you won't break bones as easily. It also helps keep your muscles strong so that you can be mobile forever. And I think that that's something that's really important. Like, you look at old people in homes and they can't do anything for themselves. Like, I never want to be like that. And I don't think anyone looks at that and just thinks that that's what they want. I also don't think that it's something that people should accept as like, that's what getting old means. Yeah, because it doesn't have to. You do need to put in some of the work while you're younger to make sure that you don't end up like that. But it is possible to live active and mobile for the rest of your life, Yes, you might get injuries a little bit easier. Yes, it might take a little bit longer to recover. But if you just keep moving forever, and you'll be able to move forever, So recently I did the Foot Nerd program through the Foot Collective. Due to COVID, we went into lockdown, and I was like, all right,
find some study to do.
Exactly. How am I going to kill some spare time? First, I've studied nutrition before, but I was like, can always do a freshen up. So did an online nutrition course. However, it wasn't really ticking the boxes that I wanted it to, I always felt like as a personal...
The Foot Nerd program?
No, the...
General nutrition courses?
Yeah, the nutrition courses.
Too specific or too broad?
Just
not quite right.
Things I already knew, I
Yeah.
was like, I was hoping that I was going to pick up some extra knowledge along the way, but it was all just stuff I already knew. I always felt like as a personal trainer that I was going to have like really profound changes in people's lives. Like I was really going to help them. And sometimes I've been feeling like I've got all of the information, but I can't quite project that information onto people in a way that helps them use it. I can say, drink water, eat more vegetables, move your body more, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So when I looked at the Footnote program, they had a section on behavior change, and that was something that really spoke to me. It was the thing that really got me across the line on wanting to do it, because I was like, that's what I need. I need to know how to coach people to make changes. Not just what the changes should be, I already know that, but how to help other people make those changes, because people need to want to make those decisions for themselves. So I did the day online seminar, and then loved the information so much, all the work about feet and alignment through the body and the hips and like getting down in squats. It was really amazing. So I was like, what more can I learn from the Foot Collective? And found the Footnote program, and I remember reading the memoir, the
description,
manifesto out to you, and just being like, yes, like I want to be.
It was so you.
Yeah, I want to be open-minded, and I want to lead by example, and just so many things. I was like, I need to do this course, and it's been life-changing. It's honestly been life-changing. Like, we got rid of our dining table, we got rid of our couches, we got rid of our bed frame, and we got big on the floor living now.
We're on the floor right now.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast from the floor.
Yeah. So the Footnote program is, even though the title says Footnote, it's not just about feet. Start with feet and the alignment of your body as a foundation. And then we talk about sleep, the mind, community, movement, and food. And a couple of those pillars I felt like I already had a good grasp on. But in doing the program, I learnt even more. Like, I've always felt like as a dancer, I was pretty flexible. And then one of the things we had to do in the Footnote program was 60-second squat, heels on the floor, feet together, and hold it all the way down on the ground without your butt touching the floor. I still can't do it. A year later, and I work on it every day. I stretch my calves every day. I work on my ankles and my hips every single day.
Can confirm.
It's something that we should all be able to do. You look at a toddler, and one of the very first things that they do when a baby goes to learn to walk is holds themselves in that squat position.
When they pick things up, they squat down like that and pick things up, whatever.
Yeah. It's amazing, and we should all be able to do it. You should just be able to continue that movement through the rest of your lives. But instead of squatting and being on the floor, we all start sitting on chairs instead. Literally from primary school, sit in a chair, high school, sit in a chair. Schooling is essentially a desk job.
Except for PE.
Yeah, but you think, like, people think they have an active lifestyle if they go to the gym 5 days a week or for an hour each day. But if you sit when you're driving your car, and you sit when you're at work, and you sit at a table when you eat your dinner, then you've sat down for 10 hours of the day. Even if you exercise for one, that doesn't make you an active person. It makes you a sedentary person.
It's a lot of sitting.
It's a lot of sitting. Whereas if you sit on the floor and you're cross-legged, and then you're mermaid position, and then you're kneeling, and then you're squatting, that's now movement. It's not sedentary, because it's not comfortable to sit in the same position for ages when you're on the hard floor. It forces you to move. The more you move, the more calories you burn. Even sitting on the ground. It's the comfort of a couch or a chair where you can sit in the same position all day.
That immobilizes you.
Yeah. And so many people end up with hip, knee, back, shoulder pain because they've sat in the same position all day long, and we're not built to sit and be stationary all day. So that was the movement pillar for me, really learning about move more, exercise less. I've spent my life being a exerciser. I play sport and I go to dancing and I like to go for a run. I lift weights in the gym. But I work so hard that in between all that time, I'd be exhausted and just want to rest. Whether it's actually more beneficial to exercise with a little less intensity most of the time, being able to move more. Now I get up, I do some stretches, go for a walk with the dogs, do dancing, take a lunchtime class. Like, I'm moving most of the day. Even if I'm studying, I'm on the floor, I'm moving. There's not many hours that I spend completely stationary anymore. And it's really changed the way that I view movement. I've always thought that it should be fun, but I also thought there was like prerequisites for things that people had to do. But now I realize whatever people enjoy the most, that's the most important thing for them to do.
It's the best kind of movement because it gets them moving.
Yeah, exactly. The best kind of movement is the one that you will do. Then we move on to food, which again, felt like I had a pretty good grasp on. I had, left my whole protein-only diet behind. I'd done vegan, I'd done vegetarian, I'd done the FODMAP diet, and I felt like I was working with an okay balance of food. But again, this just went to show me that there are a lot of places where I could make my food from scratch. We had to read this book called New Old Way, and it just spoke about our ancestral health and, what our ancestors did. And the thing is, we've been hunter-gatherers for most of human history. We really only learn about modern history, but for hundreds of thousands of years, we've been cavemen and hunter-gatherers. So that's the way that our body has adapted. And creating food, cooking bread from scratch at home, the extra movement that it takes to make that bread, as opposed to go to the shops and buy the bread, as well as the extra enjoyment that you get from it, knowing that you went to the effort to make it, or sharing it with friends and family. Sharing a meal with people can be so rewarding and so joyful. And the thing is, you actually can absorb more or less nutrients from your food depending on what state you're in. So like if you're eating in the car whilst you're rushing from one job to another or to pick the kids up after school, you will get less nutrients from the food you're eating than if you take your lunch outside in the sun without your phone, take a few deep breaths and really enjoy the meal. You'll feel fuller for longer and you'll get the full absorption from the food because you won't be in flight or fight mode. You'll be in the rest and digest mode. And so that's one thing that I do now as well. I try and take my meals with less distractions. Sometimes we still eat our dinner in front of the TV as a little treat.
Here and there.
But this morning we ate our breakfast outside in the sun. The dogs. It was lovely.
Lovely morning.
Yeah. And you really do enjoy it more. So taking the time to prepare a meal from scratch when you can, even if it means that it's more effort, knowing that the end result will mean that you really do appreciate it, enjoy it, and absorb the nutrients more, really beneficial. Sleep was our next pillar. Sleep is one I already loved.
One you're crazy about.
Yeah, crazy about sleep. So this was probably the one for me that really did need the least work. The only thing that I personally changed was to... Actually, I don't remember. Was I already writing in my journal, my nighttime journal before?
Yeah. I think you just picked it up again.
More consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... Yeah, I think that probably I'd learned about sleep in the past already. Like, my bedroom has been a sleep sanctuary for years. I don't think I've had a TV in my bedroom since I was 22 or 23 or something like that. So, like 7 years or something.
You old.
You love it. So, yeah, there's some things that we learn about sleep, going to bed at a similar time every night and waking up at a similar time every morning, even on weekends. Creating that routine for yourself really helps. Don't have caffeine after pretty much 11 a.m. because it has a quarter life. So 12 hours after you've drunk your cup of coffee, you will still have a quarter of it in your body. Yeah, have a nighttime routine. You know, most people have a morning routine. They get up, they have their shower, they have their breakfast, whatever their routine is. It's almost always the same before work every day. But they don't have the same for bed. They just watch TV or scroll through their phone until they fall asleep. Doesn't matter what time it is. But having a time that you turn technology off, trying to make it quite dark, and then being like, okay, I brush my teeth, I have a hot shower, I write in my journal, I, plan my day the next day or whatever it is, trying to have that as well. So it's like a signal to your body to be like, oh, we're doing our nighttime routine. It's time to get sleepy. I find it really helps me. There's lots more. If you want to learn more about sleep, I will be taking a seminar and a workshop on how to set up your own nighttime routine at the Vivacious Escapes event in March.
Sneaky
Tickets
plug.
are on sale now. So much more about sleep to teach you if you're interested. You should not be waking up tired in the morning. You shouldn't feel like you need coffee to get through the day. You probably can have more energy than you think you can. So I would love to help people with that. The next pillar is the mind. And this was a huge eye-opener for me. One of our challenges we had to do was meditate for 5 minutes every day for 30 days.
You really struggled with this one.
I did. I had to restart the challenge 15 times.
So many times. You did a good chunk and then would miss one day but then restart the whole challenge. So in the long term, you probably meditated for a number of days, just not all in a row, which was the challenge.
Yeah. Which was good. I actually kind of feel really bad because I enjoyed it so much and I haven't managed to keep it up at all. So maybe I need to do another 30-day stint and maybe make it 60 days.
Oh, no.
I ended up having to make myself a little calendar that I printed out in pretty colours, and I purchased some sparkly textures so that each day after I did my meditation I could mark it off and be like, woo, surprise for me. I bought a pretty cushion and lit some incense, and it was hard. It was really helpful for me to learn how difficult it is for people to create habits, because eating well and exercise has always come easy to me. So when I train people and I'm trying to get them to do the same and they're really struggling with it, I've always been like, why are you finding this so hard? But now, because I knew how good it was and it felt good when I did it, and I've read all of the benefits of meditation, but I still struggled. So it was
So you can
really
relate
good.
that to them now. They know the benefits of eating well and sleeping a full night of sleep and all of that, but can find it hard to stick to. So
Yeah.
you can give them pointers now that you've struggled through
Yeah.
meditation.
Also to make me a little bit more compassionate, I think. But yeah, having a meditation or a mindfulness practice is really beneficial, especially for anyone that does struggle with anxiety or depression or just lots of feelings of loneliness, because it can really help you be in the moment. And outside of the benefits that you get immediately, long term, it helps you deal with problems better. The idea is that eventually you will have meditated enough that when a trigger in your life appears, something that sets you off, instead of having a angry or a sad or a bad response, your body will immediately go to the way you respond when you're in a meditation. It takes a long time, maybe years, but that's the long-term goal of meditation, that you will respond to everything in your life with a calm mind and deal with every moment as it comes and not worry about the future or the past or mistakes or other people's thoughts. It's just you and Mother Nature and the moment that you're in. And I really love that concept. As difficult as it is for me to sit there and be still for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, it's something that I will honestly try and work on for the rest of my life, because the appeal of being able to respond calmly to anything that comes your way is just so great. Like, imagine if through all of this COVID craziness and, you know, how much it has affected people, if everyone could just have stepped outside, taken a nice breath and said, it's okay, I'm here, I've got my life and my body and Mother Nature, and everything will be okay. We just don't have that sort of calm, but it would be amazing. It would change the world. So something that I'm going to work on forever, for sure. It will be hard, but I'm going to put in the work.
The work.
And then the final pillar is community. So, you know, your health affects everybody around you's health. Jai, do you think I'm a good influence on you?
Yes.
Do you hate it?
Yes. No, it's good. It's really good.
You just want to eat bad and be happy about it?
Yeah.
I make you feel guilty.
No, it's a good guilt though. Otherwise I wouldn't feel guilty for myself.
Definitely one of the things, like, people won't make changes until they're ready to make changes.
You keep me accountable.
And I think, like, obviously I usually assume if people are coming to me as a personal training client that they are ready to make these changes in their lives. But we all go through fluctuations of motivation, you know. One morning you wake up and you look in the mirror and you go, I hate how I look. I really want to lose weight. I really want to get healthy. And then you join a gym and you buy some runners, but then 2 days later the motivation's gone and you never go to the gym again. So just because someone signed up as a client doesn't mean that they're always going to be motivated to do the right thing. And I think that I can't push them. If they're coming to their sessions, that's good enough. And I just have to try and lead by example, keep reminding them to drink their water and eat their veggies, and hope that they'll be ready to make the changes in their lives that they need to make. Just to really lead by example, like, I like to use the example of what Jai and I have been doing this. It's called the Farmer's Pick, and they send us local fruit and veg from farmers that the produce isn't good enough to go to the supermarket, blemished or too small or too big or misshaped.
Wonky shaped.
Yeah. A client of mine told me about it. Shout out to Gabby. And since signing up for it, I've obviously shared the box and what we get in it on my Instagram story. And I have had at least...
And with clients and things,
at least 5 other people also join up. 5 other families join up for it as well. And I think, you know, I didn't make anybody do it. I didn't even suggest it to anyone. I just said, here, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. And people were like, that's amazing. Like, that's the epitome of leading by example. Like, I was just so happy with what we were getting. You know, I find it cheaper than going to the supermarket, more variety, better for local farmers.
Because it's all what's in season.
Yeah.
Fruit and veggies as well.
Yeah.
So.
You know, better for the planet because food's not going to waste. And Farmers Pick, the company, they donate meals to homeless people as well. So, you know, I couldn't think of a better way to spend my money to help so many people. And obviously other people feel the same because they've joined in and everybody's loving it. So, you know, if I can do the same with other things as well, that's all I can hope for, you know. I'm just going to keep working. You know, I'm not perfect. I can't do my ass to grass squat, and I'm not good at meditation, and
yet.
Yeah. But I'm going to work on them forever, and I'm going to try and keep encouraging other people to work on themselves as well, because if the last, I'm trying to think now, 20 years of my life from that moment that I first got bullied for being overweight, through all of my journey, if it's taught me anything, is that your health journey is endless. You don't get to a certain weight and then go, okay, I'm healthy now. It's like you can always work on something else. And nobody's perfect, and we all have days that we slip up, and sometimes we order takeaway food and we don't make food from scratch, and that's okay because that's life, and when no one's perfect. But you just got to keep working on yourself constantly, and every part of it. It's like, do you take downtime? Do you work on your mental health? Are you eating well? Are you connecting with people around you well? There's so many elements. And then once you reach a point where you think, I am doing really well, then you can also start to influence other people in your life. You can be the healthy influence on other people. And the more of us that are working on our health and encouraging other people to work on their health, the healthier everyone will be. There's that saying that you're the product of the 5 people that you spend the most of your time with. So, and in the course, I listened to a podcast, and I don't remember who it was, and he said something like, you're so much more likely to eat well if one of your friends is a vegan. Just because they're making more healthy, conscious choices, it just brings up conversations, or maybe not even conversations. Maybe they've just ordered their vegan meal. They haven't said anything about it, but it makes you in your head go, do I eat too much meat? What's my animal product consumption like? How is my food affecting the planet? And that's not saying that everyone should go vegan, but it's just saying that it does bring up thoughts in people,
Even not on the meat topic, but if they're ordering a vegan meal that is loaded with veggies and you've got steak and potatoes, it doesn't have to do with the meat, but if there's not many veggies that you're thinking of ordering, it's, again, a conversation that you can have with yourself, I guess.
Imagine, how when you order meals now, they usually have to have the calories or the kilojoules on the side of it. They'll let you know how much calories are in your meal. Imagine if they had a environmental impact next to it. It's like, this is how many. Yeah. What's the measurement of?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hope everyone else does.
This is the carbon footprint of your meal. That would be really interesting. I wonder. I know, especially, I think in young people our age, I think that would be a huge, I have a lot of friends that still really like eating meat, and that's fair enough. Eat whatever you want to eat. But if you knew how much the meal you ate impacted the planet, regardless of if it impacted, maybe some people don't care about animal welfare. That's fine. Everyone to their own. But I think a lot of people care about the planet. Anyone that has kids or plans on having kids
should care about the planet.
Yeah. So if you had a little measurement next to your meal of how much your meal affected the planet, maybe that would be more of an indication to get people to make more conscious choices.
And that doesn't mean to say to cut out meat meals. It would just be to have one meal with, full of meat and not so much on the others or whatever. Yeah.
Again, it just brings up that thought, that conversation. So, yeah, that's me. That's my story. I was chubby. Now I'm not. I was a bodybuilder, or tried to be. Now I'm not. I just want to move. I want to live my life for the rest of my life as healthy as possible, mind, body, and spirit. And I want everyone else around me to do the same. I just want everyone to realize that they can be active, mobile, and healthy until the day they die, Yeah, we don't need to grow old and frail and need to be taken care of. And yeah, so I want to get lots of people on here to help spread that message as well. And obviously my point of view comes from what I've seen in my clients and what I've seen in myself. But depending on what field people work in, whether, they are a psychiatrist and work on the mind, or a physio and work on the body, or whether it's a coach of a sports team and they deal with young kids, it's like everyone's going to have a different view on health.
Dependent on their field as well. So.
Yeah, and what they think is lacking and what they wish their community knew. So I just want to, interview people. We'll probably do one a month to start off with, see how it goes, and spread the message of full body, mind, spirit, and spirit health to everyone.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm excited.
Yeah, we would ask Jai his health story, but I'm not sure that he's got one.
What's health?
That's why Jai's excited about the podcast. He's ready to learn.
Teach me everything.
So thanks so much for listening to our first ever Vivacious Living podcast. I'm sure that they will only get better. Sorry if it was a bit of a ramble today. Again, really appreciate you listening in. And if you found it interesting, you can share it with friends. If you want to learn more about the 5 pillars of health or sleep, then check out Vivacious Escapes and
Instagram and website.
That's it.
Cool.
See you later.
See you next time.
Before we leave today, we would like to acknowledge and pay respects to the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional carers of the lands, waterways and skies, which we are able to live, learn and move on. We respect their elders, past, present and emerging, and the deep spiritual connection they have to our country.